Hi everyone, welcome to our very special edition of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Conservation Connect, where we are celebrating National Wildlife Refuge Week and the 50th anniversary of the Wilderness Act. In Conservation Connect, we're always talking to you guys about careers, cool wildlife, and technology. But today is just going to be a little different. This week, our technology is the studio and all the equipment that goes along with producing this video. And instead of talking about a specific animal like we usually do, we're going to talk broadly about all wildlife that would love to live in a wilderness area or a wildlife refuge. And since all wildlife need habitat or a place to live, that's what wilderness areas and national wildlife refuges provide. Wilderness even protects species that needs huge amounts of space, like grizzly bears and wolves. Today I'm here with a very special guest. We have Dr. Mark Madison, our U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service historian. In fact, the only historian in the entire U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and he's here to talk to us about the importance of the Wilderness Act.
Yeah, actually, Chelsea, I brought in some pictures that I thought would help illustrate the history of the Act up to the present.
Wonderful, that would be great.
All right, great. And the first one I have is why we're here. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Act. And this is President Johnson signing the Act in 1963, which has led to the National Wilderness Preservation System. But it actually goes back a lot further than that, and I thought some of the students might be interested in seeing the origins of it. When Europeans first came to this country, the whole country was wilderness. So you didn't need a Wilderness Act, but it didn't take very long for wilderness to start getting destroyed. And by about the mid-1800s, people like Henry David Thoreau became very concerned that wilderness was being destroyed, wildlife didn't have a place to live, and so he moved into the wilderness to a place called Walden and wrote a famous book and noted in wildness, by which he meant wilderness, lay the salvation of the world. Others that came after him tried to create the first wilderness areas. Aldo Leopold was a forester in the territory of Arizona, and even in the 1920s, he knew it was endangered. Wildlife was being destroyed there. The wolves were being eliminated, something you talked about earlier. So he helped set up the very first wilderness area, the Gila Wilderness Area, which was created in 1924, even before there was an act.
Yeah. But
there weren't many to follow, so people had to petition for it. And one of the areas we knew there was a lot of wilderness was Alaska. It was really the last wild frontier by the 1950s or so. And then a couple who had worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service, Olaus Muri, and his wife, who worked informally, which meant unpaid for us, went up to Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in 1956. And here they are in a little raft in this wilderness area to try to get this created first as a wildlife refuge and later as a wilderness area. Eventually the work of all these folks came together with the writing of the Wilderness Act, and a fellow named Howard Zahniser, a real visionary who'd been working on this since the 30s and actually had worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service. So most of these people had an association with us, so it ties into careers, albeit historically, wrote the Wilderness Act. And the Wilderness Act, if you read it, is one of the most beautifully written acts ever, and it's kind of interesting. Let me just read you one sentence from it, because it shows how it's something different. It says, a wilderness, in contrast with those areas where man and his works dominate the landscape, is hereby recognized as where the earth and its community of life are untrammeled by man, where man himself is a visitor and does not remain. And that really is the gist of the Wilderness Act. It's a place where we visit, but its primary purpose is not necessarily for humans, but for the wildlife and the plants that live in the area. So we're going to visit, but we're not going to alter it in any way. We won't put in a road, we won't put in a permanent trail, we won't cut down any trees or so on. And that really was the gist of it. He was kind of a poet and an author, and he'd been a writer for us for a number of years, and we were very fortunate. Which kind of brings us up to the modern era, in which our wilderness system was created in 1964. It's grown exponentially. Today, there's about 757 designated wilderness areas. They make up nearly 110 million acres. They're in 44 states and Puerto Rico. It's a huge component, and the Fish and Wildlife Service manages about 1/5 of it. We have about 20 million acres, about 1/5 of all the designated wilderness area. It's in 44 states, in Puerto Rico, and on a large number of refuges, and from very small wilderness areas on our very first refuge, Pelican Island, to huge wilderness areas in places like Arctic Refuge. Now, our first wilderness area, I just showed you a sign, it's Great Swamp, and I really like this sign because if you look at it carefully, you can see what you can do and what you can't do. It's great to go in there and hike and have binoculars, but you know, some things you can't do. Don't bring a dog in here, don't bring a bike, don't ride a horse in here. It's limited. We don't want to destroy it in any way. And this place, Great Swamp, is in New Jersey. It's in one of the most populated states in the country, and yet it's a beautiful wilderness area. It's our first wilderness area in the refuge system. It was the first wilderness area in the entire Department of Interior. It goes all the way back to 1968. And then by contrast, one of our largest wilderness areas is Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Here you see a lone hiker in the beautiful Shinjak River. About 8 million acres of wilderness exist in Arctic. It's a huge wilderness area. This is a place you really could get lost, where there's entire rivers and mountains that don't even have a name. And would you like me to talk about the thing I brought from our archive?
Yes, I've been eyeing this, and I've kind of been wondering about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, one of the things I said, Chelsea, is out here we have a large museum and an archive. We have a lot of historic artifacts, and some are too big to bring in. We have an 8-foot polar bear. That was a little large for the studio. But this is kind of neat because it tells us a little about wilderness. Here, let's
try it, yeah.
This is a crosscut saw.
Okay.
Chelsea, and you would hold it like this. Excuse me, let me just pick this up. And the reason I brought this in is wilderness areas don't allow any power tools. They don't want any noise. You can't have a snowmobile. You can't have a motorized vehicle. You can't have a chainsaw. So when a tree falls over and we need to clear it because it might be obstructing a stream or obstructing a little trail, our people go out there with a 2-person crew, and they'll actually saw away with these tools. This one is from the 1920s, and we use saws exactly like this
Still
today.
Being used today.
So it kind of takes you back. So really, not only do we not stay in wilderness areas, but our modern technology is purposely excluded from them just to take us back to when these areas were pristine and there weren't humans around. So I just thought it'd be a neat little artifact to bring in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Well, thank you, Chelsea.
And was there something else that you wanted to share with us as
well?
The
one other thing I had that's kind of pretty was a sign from the early wilderness preservation system. It's from 1968, off of our first wilderness refuge at Great Swamp. And what I like about this is it reminds us something very unique about the wilderness system. Unlike any other system anywhere in the world, is it's run by a number of different federal conservationists. The wilderness system isn't run by anything called the Wilderness Service, but it's imposed on parks and refuges and forests. So the Forest Service runs a huge part of the wilderness system, the Park Service runs a huge part of the wilderness system, and Fish and Wildlife runs it. And we all cooperate together to create this interconnected wilderness system, and it augments what we do. Our primary business is wildlife management, but in addition to that, we also recognize that wilderness is very important for wildlife. It's important for the people that enjoy wildlife, just like the Forest Service manages it in conjunction with preserving the national forest. So it's a unique thing. It's an American invention, really, the Wilderness Act and the Wilderness Preservation System. So we should be as proud of it as we are of the Star-Spangled Banner, the American flag, anything else we might have invented. This is one of our great creations.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more.
Well, thank you, Chelsea. This was really fun.
Thank you so much. Joining us, we have Refuge Ranger Tony Westland, and we're in the wilderness, or more specifically, we're in a wilderness area. Tony, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us what is a wilderness?
A wilderness is just like this, a beautiful area that's untouched by man. It's free from man. It's a place where we want people to get out and enjoy the peacefulness of nature and enjoy wildlife.
Are there many wilderness areas in the United States?
So yes, specifically for the National Wildlife Refuge system in which we administer, we have over 75 designated wilderness areas, and over 20 million acres is set aside. So all the way from Maine to California, from Alaska all the way down here to Florida. The largest is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge with over 8 million acres.
Wow.
And the smallest is in Wisconsin, a small 2-acre wilderness area at the Green Bay National Wildlife Refuge.
And specifically, Tony, what does the Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge wilderness area look like here in Florida?
So we are standing in it right now. It's the protection of mangroves, it's open waters, estuaries, seagrass, all of it is water.
So is all wilderness just like this, that's water?
Within our system, wilderness is so diverse. It could be mountains, prairies, grasslands, desert. All wilderness is very different and unique.
What is important about this wilderness area to you?
Our wilderness here at Ding Darling is all about water. And so is South Florida, and so is it around the world. We need clean water to survive. We are made of water, and historically people have gone to water because we need it to survive. So, of course, to get people out into this wilderness, to paddle it, to fish it, to explore, to bird watch, when they can connect with the water in the wilderness, they will want to protect it.
What would you want someone to remember about wilderness areas in general?
I think it's important that we all get out into wilderness. It could be hiking in the mountains, fishing in South Florida, discovering wildflowers in the prairie, you know, grasslands, desert, to get out to connect. It's important that we take the youth out, to give them that spark. Wilderness is something we shouldn't take lightly. You know, it saves not only the wildlife, but it also saves us.
Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to come to your refuge.
Thanks for coming.
Next, we'll see what an urban wildlife refuge looks like. Hi everyone. Today we're coming to you from a different kind of refuge, an urban wildlife refuge called Valle de Oro, just outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Joining us today, we have the refuge manager, Jennifer Owen White, with us. Jennifer, thank you so much for having us at this incredibly different type of wildlife refuge.
It's so exciting to have you here, Chelsea.
I'm wondering, what exactly is an urban wildlife refuge?
An urban wildlife refuge, in my mind, is kind of the best of both worlds. We've got some of the really great things that traditional national wildlife refuges have, like beautiful habitat and great wildlife watching opportunities and photography opportunities. And we also mix in some really excellent environmental education and interpretive opportunities, all while being really close to a city center, being in an urban area, as you can see here. We're just 10 minutes from downtown Albuquerque, and we are really accessible to lots of people in the urban area.
How is this different from refuges that we have in big wilderness areas?
Well, it's smaller. It's only 570 acres, so compared to a lot of other national wildlife refuges, it might seem really teeny, but think about being in an urban area. It's a really large piece of land to be preserved in an urban area. And it's actually, this Valle de Oro refuge is the largest remaining green space in the Albuquerque metropolitan area. And we're a little different than the wilderness areas because we really want to encourage people to come out here and be a part of the land, contribute to the development of the refuge, experience the wildlife, have a great time out here connecting to the outdoors while still being in an urban area. You can see that we've got a lot of communities and industrial stuff behind us. The large freeway, I-25, is behind us. We can hear planes flying over. The city is right here, but still we have this great mix of the outdoors and a true refuge feeling.
And I think, is it a meadowlark we're hearing?
Yeah, we're hearing the western meadowlarks who are calling, and some sulfur butterflies and some monarch butterflies moving through the grasses. So it's a pretty exciting place right outside the city.
That's amazing.
But to get people acquainted with what refuges are and to help them understand that this refuge is here and they're welcome to be a part of it, we have a mini refuge experience at a community garden that's just down the road. Would you like to go see it?
I would love to go see it.
Great.
Let's check it out.
Let's go.
All right.
There's a bee. So you see this flower here? This blossom on the squash? So I wanted to tell you that I've been to some restaurants sometimes where they actually serve the squash blossoms. So this is a type of lizard called a whiptail, and we've got many different species of whiptails here in New Mexico.
Jennifer, thank you so much for showing us that awesome garden and for allowing us to meet your incredible youth conservation course students. They have been fantastic.
Yeah, they're really wonderful. They're a great crew, and they're great ambassadors for the refuge to help the people in the city understand what's going on out here so that their ideas can come to life on this property. And it's kind of like a gallery where you could, in this small 570 acres, eventually visit all different types of wetlands, from deeper water to shallow water with mud flats, to visit some more desert-like habitat, some upland habitat, some even agricultural habitat, retaining some of that. So once this place is developed and the habitat restoration is done, it'll be like in a small area you can walk through so many different types of habitats, and that means lots of different types of wildlife to see.
That sounds fascinating. I'm so excited to watch this get developed over the years and see what you come up with. Thank you so much for having us at our refuge. We so appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you'll come back and see Valle de Oro and watch how it transforms and how the community's ideas are coming to life on this property.
Coming up in the new season of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Conservation Connect, we are all over the place. Things are up in the air, literally, as we go flying with a pilot biologist and learn all about duck surveys. We head to the desert Southwest for a visit with hummingbirds and get up close and personal with some furry friends. We'll visit the bird paradise of Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge all the way down in Florida, where there's loads of on-the-water fun to be had. A hike into the Appalachian Mountains leads us to a rare salamander. On the East Coast, we'll join two researchers as they seek the elusive but cute bog turtle. Then, under the water, we'll get a sneak peek into the world of the brook trout and discover seldom-seen freshwater mussels. We'll even learn about endangered species like the California condor and the fascinating black-footed ferret. That's all coming your way on this season's new episodes of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Conservation Connect.